Yes, welcome into SportsBit Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, Wednesday, May 4th. Big game breakdown, just one NBA game. We'll throw two baseball games at you. Deep dive, the highlights of April, first month recap with the National League, and we try to make it three in a row with the play of the day. Oh, the bad beats. This isn't a bad beat, this is a moose. The Blazers led by 11 going into the fourth quarter. They're up 9 with 9 minutes. And they're outscored 34-12 in the fourth quarter. Somehow the Warriors cover, Teddy.
Yeah, and moose is the appropriate word for this. And look, when you that made me crazy, man. That run really, really made me crazy, Paulie. And one thing we don't talk a lot about is how to handle the beats. And when it comes to the NBA playoffs, you're either going to be on the right side of some of these or on the wrong side of some of these. And so far this postseason, for me and my clients, I've been on the wrong side of a bunch of these, it feels like. And another one last night. It's like a punch in the gut. It's like, F you. Get a frickin' bucket. Do something. You've been playing great ball for three quarters. And the Warriors, of course, had played so poorly in every game two. All four game twos last year on their way to the title were point spread failures. Against the Rockets in game two in the first round, Golden State lucky to escape with the win, and they didn't cover anything when it came to the early number in that contest. So they did cover against a late number, but here, Golden State was not the right side with one exception. Key stat, Pauly, points in the paint. Golden State Warriors 56, Portland Trailblazers only 28.
Well, that's a moose. How about if he had Miami, Toronto under? Oh, my God. Miami's up 6 with 9 seconds left and the ball. And then still it's 90-87. You got whether it was as low as 189, as high as 192, you're safe. And then Lowry from the parking lot to tie it and send it to overtime. Oh, my God, if Miami would have lost that game. But that's a vicious beat if he had the game under.
Oh, that's even worse, frankly, than Portland. Every bit as bad as Portland, because you're about to win that game by 15 points until a guy that has made scored 4 points, Lowry, prior to that
Correct.
three-pointer. So a guy who hasn't a shot in 2 series all of a sudden drains one from half court, and now you're sweating, and now you're sweating, and now you're losing. The key stats there, of course, Miami going 73% from beyond the arc. They were plus 11 on the boards. Goran Dragic was the man again, just like he was in Game 7 in the previous series against Charlotte. Worth noting, though, Miami only 12 assists on 40 made baskets. They're playing nothing but one-on-one basketball.
What do we do with Lowry? He's the Andy Dalton of the NBA. He was 3 of 13. He's running away from the ball. He's refusing to take shots. Under 40% in all 8 playoff games. And this tweet, courtesy of ESPN Stats and Info, he's got the lowest field goal percentage in a single postseason. In the last 50 years, he's shooting 30%.
And the other guys on the list, Larry Hughes, he wasn't the key guy. I don't even remember which that 2016 was. It might have been Philadelphia. Lindsey Hunter wasn't the key guy. Kyle Lowry's the key guy. And for him shooting at 30, I'm still amazed that Toronto was able to win the first round series. Let alone, well, we'll see what happens here against Miami, but does not bode well for Toronto losing game 1 at home.
No, how about Miami? Can you inbound the ball? Is it that difficult? Deng made some crazy, crucial errors down the stretch.
Yeah, and we keep talking about the Heat as this veteran team, and they'll be able to handle it. And we've seen a lot of Miami choking stuff away in the latter stages of tight ball games in this postseason, and even dating back to the regular season. So for a battle-tested, tough team, Miami's making a lot of mistakes during crunch time.
All right, are we going to do this again? We're not doing this, right? It's not a bad beat here. The Reds bullpen involved. Reds run line.
Oh, my God. If you had Cincy on the run line, and this is going to be a prevailing theme, it is now the 21st consecutive game that Cincinnati's bullpen has allowed at least one run. Lamb comes off back surgery and throws a gem for 6th inning. And then Caleb Cotham comes in and gives up 2 in the 8th. Oh, my goodness. Brian Price, here's the quote. It's a challenge for the guys in the bullpen.
Sure.
It's been a challenge to get on the roll. Now, again, that 21 consecutive games where the bullpen has allowed at least one run, yes, that is a major league record, surpassing the Colorado Rockies when they did that a couple of years ago.
Another vicious beat. Rangers on the run line. A bullpen melt that went our way. A winner with the Blue Jays in the play of the day. 1-0 bottom of the ninth. Smoke ties it and then wins it with a 2-run shot. A walk-off in the 10th.
Yeah, that was good news for us. The Rangers were as high as $1.75 against our play of the day, Toronto. And Texas shut them out for 8 innings.
Yep.
Smoke does something you said that hadn't been done since when? Since like 2000 or something?
2002, the last guy to do it.
Yeah, it was when you tie in the ninth and win in the 10th. Sean Tollison's second blown save after converting his previous 8 chances. But the Rangers, we said it on yesterday's show, one of the reasons we went against them, that offense is just not hitting on the highway, held to just a single run. Not going to win a lot of games, 1-0.
One more. How about the Nationals? They blew a 6-3 lead late. Papelbon blew it too.
We love making fun of Papelbon on this show, and we'll continue to do it. That was a pretty bad beat. If you had Washington, they certainly looked like a right side. Oh, until the 9th inning.
Bad bets. What are you doing? What, you think there's value going against Arrieta?
Every day they're betting against the Cubs.
It's ridiculous. You need to have your head examined if you're betting against the Cubs and you're betting against Arrieta. 15 straight road wins for Arrieta. Third pitcher in the last 20 seasons to do that. You see the ESPN stat tweet. Johan Santana and Maddox, the other guys to do that. 22-1 with a 0.85 ERA in his last 26 regular season starts. What are you thinking?
What are they thinking? This is, again, people always ask me, what are the syndicates thinking? How are the wise guys looking at that side? What are they thinking? They're thinking that Chicago wasn't priced correctly at -$2, that the Pirates offered value at that number. So what'd they do? They bet the Cubs down from $2 to -$1.75. Obviously, in retrospect, we say that's stupid. You and I, who have been touting the Cubs, and boy, wait till when we get into the deep dive in the NL what the stats show about Chicago.
Oh, man.
I mean, there's not a lot to dislike about this team, except for the prices that they're being asked to lay. And we've talked about this on the show all week and last week and the week before. There is a legitimate battle going on between the wise guys / syndicates and the amateur players when it comes to the Chicago Cubs. The recreational bettors are betting the Cubs every day, and the books that cater to those guys are taking a beating.
Yep.
The wise guys are betting against the Cubs every day because they say they're priced too high. And, of course, the wise guys are taking a beating betting against Chicago as well.
Yep. 22-1 in his last 26 regular season starts. Keep betting against them. That's buffoonery. To the Yankees, another bad. They stink. That team is awful.
Yeah, and there was a ton of Yankee money yesterday. They were Buck plus 125 or a little bit higher at the opener. They were bet down at near Pick'em plus 105 in that range. And the advanced metrics love Severino. But as we talked about on yesterday's show, we did a deep dive, yesterday's show, we did that deep dive into the American League through the first month of the season. Yankees can't score. I mean, the only run yesterday came from Didi Gregorius in the number 8 spot. And didn't get perhaps worse for the Yanks. A-Rod got hurt in that game, although he's hitting a $194, so I don't know. Out of the 3-hole, mind you, he's hitting a $194, so I'm not sure that injury is truly impactful.
Let's stay in New York. Harvey gets beat again. He wasn't even the best Matt on the hill.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the best Matt at Citi Field last night? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't the guy laying -220 or -240 or bet up as high as -260. Yeah. That's the 2-4 / 4.76 ERA Matt Harvey. The markets are in love with him. And yet, Harvey hasn't been all that good. Of course, someone was betting the over in that game as well. Whistler throws a one-hit shutout against the Mets. Really threw a gem. The best Matt on the field was the underdog Matt, not the favorite Matt.
One more bad bet. The Rays, the Dodgers break out of it on the road. A ton of home runs, and they rock more.
Yeah, and I mean, ton of Tampa money in that game. Bet from -110 up to -145. The Dodgers light up more. They light up the bullpen behind them. Rare slugfest at the Trop.
We'll get the big game breakdown in a second. I can't get enough of this Leicester City story.
I know, you love it, dude. Tell me about it. What do we got?
Here's two, quick. Now, this is, you think the Blazers was a bad beat, and if you had this is just stupidity. There was a guy who bet Leicester City before the season at 5,001. He cashed out after the first game, made like $1. What are you doing, man? What's the point? Oh, my God. And this is my favorite story. Jamie Vardy, the best player on Leicester City. A couple years ago, he was working in a factory, playing semi-pro ball, making $75 a game. He got in a barroom brawl. He was wearing an ankle bracelet. He had to wear it while he was on the field. They had to sub him out and he had to leave at halftime to get back before curfew, and sometimes he had to climb over the fence and sprint to his parents' car to get home in time. And that's a guy who led him in goals and was a big reason why they did this. How about that story? $75 a game, semi-pro ball, working part-time in a factory, and he's a big reason why they're the champs.
I love stories like that, where the underdog, where the guy that was, the Kurt Warner story,
Yeah,
where
baking
the guy,
groceries.
exactly, coming out of nowhere to lead his team to glory. But come on, Pauly, tell the truth. You wearing an ankle tracking bracelet right now? I know you are.
No, I don't have it. I'm clean, baby. I'm clean. I've only been cuffed one time. Let's keep it that way. But we've got running around with the bracelet. Get back before curfew. I love that story. Bravo, Leicester City. Up next, big game breakdown. Game 2, Hawks and the Cavs, and we'll throw 2 baseball games at you on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Here we go. Time for big game breakdown back on SportsBit. Pauly and Teddy betting Insight today. Game 2 tonight, Atlanta, Cleveland. Cleveland 7, 198 the total. Game 1, Atlanta's down 18 in the third quarter. They fight all the way back. They're down 1 with 4 minutes left. Now, can Bazemore slow down LeBron? They held LeBron to only 1 free throw attempt the entire game, but you look at this graphic. In the 3 meetings since the All-Star break with Bazemore on LeBron, he's killed him. 117 minutes, 88 points, 36 of 63 from the floor, plus 35. Maybe Budenholzer decides to put Millsap and Cephalosha and tag team LeBron here in this one tonight, Teddy, because Bazemore just can't handle him.
Well, yeah. I mean, the bad news for that Atlanta defense starts with the fact that LeBron may simply be out of reach for Kent Bazemore, as this photo clearly shows. Of course, the Hawks led by 1 with 4 left. They rallied from 18 down to lead by 1. So it wasn't as bad a beat, let's say, as the Blazers were last night, because Portland led wire to wire until the final minutes. But still a tough beat if you had Atlanta. They went completely dead down the stretch of that ballgame offensively. And, of course, they got swept in the playoffs last year when they still had DeMarre Carroll to match up with LeBron. With LeBron, I should say. Now they're 0-8 straight up, 1-7 against the spread since the beginning of that series last year against this Hawk squad. It's the kind of thing where, first of all, Atlanta needs their starting backcourt to show up, because that backcourt simply wasn't there in game number 1, Paul.
No, horrible. You look at this graphic. Teague, 21 minutes, 8 points. Struggled from the floor, 4 assists, minus 13. Korver, we touched on it last night. 36 minutes, 3 points. 1 shot. What the hell? And the 3 points came from the free throw line. 0 assists and minus 6. But thank God they had Schroeder. But can I count on that happening again? 27 points and 5 triples.
No, even if they get something better out of Korver and Teague, I don't know that there's any way that Schroeder's going to give him 27 points and 5 triples. But it's interesting to note, let's talk about Kyle Korver for a minute, because this guy has been an absolute point spread difference maker for the Hawks. Since the beginning of the March, Hawks 14-4 straight up, 12-6 against the spread when Korver hits at least 2 3-pointers. Now, of the 12-6 ATS, it's worth noting, 2 of the point spread losses were games that they won by double digits. A third came as an underdog in overtime. So really, they've been absolute moneymakers with Korver's hitting. They're in that same span, 4-7 straight up and against the spread when Korver hit 1 3-pointer or less. So then you look at this quote from Tyronn Lue. Mm-hmm. When we take him out of the game, they have a tough time scoring. We know in the last series against the Celtics, they were a plus 78 when he was on the floor and a minus 24 when he was off the floor. He's a big part of what they do, and we have to lock into him and try to take him out of the series. I agree with that assessment, Paul. I think that if Kyle Korver goes off, he may be the point spread difference maker for Atlanta. If he doesn't go off, they're going to lose. They're going to fail to cover the number.
You going to change your mind on this series?
I think that it's important for me to talk about that, because as a handicapper, I'm going to have opinions. I'm going to have opinions every day. I'm going to have opinions every week. I'm going to have opinions about teams. And you know what? Sometimes I'm going to be wrong. We are not politicians, okay? Flip-flopping is not, you said the Cavs were going to lose, and now they're going to. No. It's necessary. You have to flip-flop. You have to be willing to say, I was wrong about this, and I'm going to change. I'm going to change my take. I didn't see the Cavs 2 weeks ago. At this stage, after watching them play the first few playoff games, after watching the competition in the East, I'd be shocked to see them lose. I really would. I think Cleveland's live to win it all, and obviously this is a team that I expected to be out of the playoffs by the end of this series before the playoffs began. So, yeah, I was wrong. It happens a lot, unfortunately. But when you're wrong, you know what you do? Learn. Learn from it. Move on from your positions. Don't lock in and be like, oh, no, I'm pretty sure I said Cleveland was going to be good or a good bet against. That's not the case right now. The Cavs, current time, are the clear favorites to come out of the East, obviously. That I didn't think so a couple weeks ago. And I think they're live to win it all right now.
You're not concerned about LeBron and the jump shot. We touched on it briefly yesterday. Second time in his career, he didn't lead his team in scoring or shot attempts in the first round against Detroit. The only other time, you guessed it, NBA Finals against the Mavs when he sat in the corner and refused to shoot. He shot 21% from three in the series against Detroit. Windhorst wrote about how his jumper's broken. The fundamentals, he's shooting off one leg. He's 31. I mean, the legs at some point, he's got to be feeling it. The guy's played in 5 straight finals.
Yes, and the Olympics and all the stuff going out over the summer and on for LeBron James. That being said, this is a really good supporting cast, and that's the key. You don't want, if you can have Cleveland win a series without LeBron being their number one guy in shot attempts, when Kyrie Irving is playing at the level that he's playing, when Kevin Love is playing at the level that he's playing, when J.R. Smith is playing at the level he's playing right now, mature basketball, you know what? That's good for Cleveland. LeBron can use the help. He certainly didn't have any last year.
All right, let's go to the Major League Baseball. The Yankees and the Orioles. Sabathia against Wilson. Orioles $1.25, 9 the total. The Yankees 8-16. Their worst record through 24 games since 1991. Sabathia, they need him to eat some innings and go 6-7 strong. He hasn't been able to do it, Teddy.
No, hasn't even been able to come close. I mean, you look at the command decline. We're talking about a guy whose walk rate is way up and whose swinging strike percentage is way down. The numbers show it clearly. Back in 2014, he wasn't great in 2014. He's striking out more than 9 per 9 innings. Now that number's down to less than 6.3. You know, the walk rate more than doubled since 2014. The swing strike percentage down, declining every year. But it's key to talk about the handicapping folks here. I know that the Yankees bullpen has been hittable over the last couple of games. You know, Betances got lit up twice by the Red Sox over the weekend, cost the Yankees 2 games. But it's still a top-notch bullpen. So the key for handicapping focus here, if you're going to buck Sabathia, maybe you want to look at the first 5-inning line, take the bullpen out of play. Markets will adjust some, but not enough. And, of course, the Orioles starting to hit again, 28 runs scored in their last 5 ball games. But my question to you, Pauly, can Tyler Wilson be trusted for Baltimore? Or is a converted reliever a guy that we want to bet over the total instead of backing the Orioles?
Nope, go over the total. Can't trust him. As you mentioned, converted reliever, only 9 innings combined in his first 2 starts. Red Sox, White Sox, $1.30. White Sox, $1.30. We call it $1.38.5. Is that what we're calling it? Projected line?
Yeah, this is a guesstimate line now.
Okay.
We have no early line. There was a pitching change on this game, but it's such a good game to talk about that
right.
I thought we'd
live odds at sportsbookreview.com. Where would the Red Sox be without Buchholz? 0-5, outscored by 13 runs when he's on the hill. Others, 15-6, outscoring their opponents by 37. And as we said in his last start, if this guy couldn't beat the Braves, sound the alarms. Well, he got beat in that game.
Yeah, he sure did, and no signs of turning his game around.
No.
6.2 strikeouts per 9, that's the second worst number of his career. His 4.2 walks per 9, that's the worst of his career. His 39.8 ground ball percentage is also the worst of his career. And this is a Red Sox lineup that we love, a Red Sox bullpen that's been pretty good. And Boston, where would they be? We'd be talking about them like they were the Cubs if Buchholz had pitched well so far this season. But then, of course, we're not talking about them by the Cubs because Buchholz has been so bad in all of those starts.
Up next, the deep dive. What do we learn in April in the National League? And we try to make it 3 in a row on the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today. Deep dive time on SportsBit on SBRpicks.com. What do we learn in April in the National League? Well, the Cubs, plus 79 in run differential, second best through the first 22 games. The record, the 2003 Yankees, plus 82. Madden's having a good old time, Teddy. A lot to laugh about.
Yeah, sure. How much fun is he having? Well, as we sort through the best of the National League in April, Joe Madden and the Cubs have someone near the top of just about every list that we're going to talk about, Paul. Let's start with the best offenses. And here's one that surprised me with Pittsburgh at number one, the Cubs at number two,
Yeah.
St. Louis at number three. I didn't think the Pirates would necessarily be number one, nor do I think they'll be there forever. But obviously, the Cubs sitting there right at number two. Those worst offenses, though, the Phillies, they got a winning record. The Reds, we talk about their bad bullpen. And of course, Atlanta so far behind everybody else. How do you have an 8-game and a 9-game losing streak in the same month?
Oh.
If your leading hitter is literally swinging like he's holding the wrong end of the bat. Rough start to the season for Freddie Freeman, although he has played a little bit better over the course of the last couple of days.
And these stats courtesy of Fangraphs. How about bullpens? Number one, the Mets, followed by Arizona and the Cubs. And with the Mets, Teddy, it's been a ton of strikeouts, especially with Familia.
Yeah, Familia leaves a bullpen that's striking out more than a batter per inning, 9.3 per 9. And look, Cubs on the list of best bullpens as well. The worst bullpens, no surprise. Obviously, you've been paying attention.
Yep.
Cincinnati. Oops. And I'm surprised that they're only 1.2 below a replacement level bullpen. I would think the Reds would be worse than that. But what is a surprise, Pittsburgh at 14 on this list. The Pirates bullpen has been dynamite in recent years. So far this season, it's been dynamite in the form of a gas can.
Best player, Fowler, Cubs. How about that? Teddy, he was this close to being an Oriole.
Yeah, Baltimore, that's one that Baltimore wishes they'd have gotten right. He didn't even know if he was back in a Cubs uniform in the offseason. He's celebrated by exploding out of the gate. Look at the numbers for Dexter Fowler in April. 347 slugging percentage, 474 on base percentage. 347 average, 474 on base percentage, 613 slugging. Those are impressive. And of course, here are the Pirates on there. Polanco and Marte amongst the best NL players in terms of WAR. And of course, Arenado for Colorado, who's come out of the gate clicking on all cylinders. Unfortunately for the Rockies, he's about all they have.
Best pitchers in WAR. Thor leads the way, 1.5, followed by Strasburg, Cueto, Kershaw, and Nola. Where are the Cubs, though? What's that all about? That's a surprise.
Well, you don't want to worry too much about the Cubs. All 5 Chicago starters are in the top 18 on this list. Arrieto's number 9, Lackey's number 18. So even though they're not in the top 5, yeah, the Cubs have been near the top of every list. When you have 5 starters in the top 18 in WAR, you're doing something right. But guy to watch, maybe this Aaron Nola for Philadelphia. He's already ahead of schedule.
Best defense, Cubs lead the way, followed by the Nationals and the Dodgers. Worst defense, Milwaukee 13th, then the Mets. Here's a surprise, the Giants 15th.
Yeah, that's a real surprise for the Giants. It's not a surprise to see the Cubs at the top. They've been doing everything right. The Giants at the bottom, that's a big shock. We're not accustomed to seeing Brandon Crawford and the Giants near the bottom of the NL paid rankings. In fact, look at the last 2 seasons. Giants number 1 in defense last year, number 2 in 2014. So this one may be one of those short-term fluky situations, a little bit of static, that should correct itself over the summer.
All right, and this was unexpected from April. What happened in the NL West?
They all beat each other up is what happened in the NL West. Let's see. San Fran looked like monsters at the beginning, and then they kind of went through an offensive slump. Their pitching wasn't as good, and their defense wasn't as good. Mm-hmm. Dodgers, same story, showed signs, but never put it all together. Arizona hasn't lived up to expectations thus far, and San Diego and Colorado are what they are. So that certainly was unexpected, considering that 3 of the 5 teams in the NL West were all expected to be contenders this year. It is worth noting San Fran and LA have moved over 500 in the month of May, but they all finished April with a losing record.
All right, money time. Play of the day, going for 3 in a row. Where are we going, Teddy?
Well, we got to go and take a look at the Pale Hose, Chicago White Sox. Again, no early line on this game. I'm going to recommend them at minus 140 or less. I expect that number to come a little bit lower. Look, Jose Abreu was the man on Tuesday. He had a double, a triple, 3 RBIs. I expect him to keep that going against a very hittable Clay Buchholz. Meanwhile, Carlos Rodon, there are some concerns about his overall numbers. He's 1-3 with a 4.33 ERA, but the aggregate stats will kill you. All right, when you look at the game logs, he allowed 6 runs in a third of an inning, and his other 3 starts were just fine. The aggregate numbers look bad. Rodon's actual numbers are just fine. The lazy way is aggregate numbers. The labor-intensive way, where you have to go through the game logs, look at the grading, look at the game scores. That's the way you make money. And that methodology leads us to Rodon and the White Sox today. Chicago, minus 140 or less. That's a play of the day.
Very good. NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, and Kentucky Derby preview the rest of the week. Coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.